Alright, so let's take a look at Intercept Form. So again, open up the tab into the different forms, and just like before, we're going to do the exact same thing. So this is another way you could see the quadratic. So it will look like that, where P and Q are the intercepts of the x-axis, or otherwise called the roots or the zeros. So first step is always going to be, is the number outside positive or negative? If it's positive, it's a happy face, which means it's increasing or it's upwards, and it has a minimum. As you can see, the lowest point. You can't see a maximum. All right, then the second step is we need to get our vertex. Well, to get our vertex, the first thing we need to do is rewrite it in intercept form if it's not already in intercept form. So let me match it up. It looks good. Oh, wait, there's a problem right there. It needs to be a minus, right? So I'm going to rewrite it. Minus 1/2. That's okay. Then open parenthesis x minus 6, open parentheses x. And we have to have it as minus. So we're going to write minus. And then because we still have to have it positive, we have to say -2. So now it matches up. I can pull out the information I want to do. So now I'm going to find the vertex. So two ways that you could do this. You can memorize a formula, or I'm going to teach you how to get it. Okay. So remember, these are roots, right? Where it crosses the x-axis. So pull out P and Q. So the numbers 6 and -2 after the minus sign. Those are where it crosses the y-axis. So I'm going to draw an axis real quick. So my x-intercepts are 6 and -2. So drawing an x-axis from -2 to 6. And I'm just going to sketch it because I just need to show you how to find it. So it crosses at -2. And it crosses at 6. Now I know the vertex is going to be the middle of that. Because remember, they're symmetrical, right? Like when we get to the end, you mirror it. So it's symmetrical, it's half and half. So halfway is going to be my vertex. So my line of symmetry happens right there. They're the same number of ticks on the right as they are on the left. So -2 to 6, and it happens right at 2. So how do I look at that? So let's say I'm looking at this entire distance, I'm looking for the middle. That whole distance is 8, and halfway is 4 and 4. So it's going to happen at x is equal to +2. Now you can do that using a formula. The formula says that your line of symmetry happens when you add your two roots together and divide by 2. So that's P plus Q divided by 2. So what's P? -2 plus Q +6 divided by 2. It's going to give me 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So it's telling you my axis of symmetry is 2. Now you plug it in back to the original formula to find your y, because now you know what your x vertex is. Now you need to find your y. So where I see x, you're going to put 2. So rewrite in the original formula and just put in 2. Plug all that in the calculator just like you see it. So that's going to give me -8. So my vertex is going to happen at 2 and -8. So my first step, find the sign. My second step, find my vertex. My third step, draw the axis of symmetry. So it happens at where your x value is, right, which is -2. A straight line going up and down at -2. Alright, so if this is going up, I'm going to need more positive y than I need negative. And my vertex is going to be at 2, -8. So it's somewhere down there. So that should be enough graph space. Make them as evenly spaced as you can. This is a listening check. Underline, plug in to find y above my graph. My vertex is 2, -8. So count 2 and then -8 down. And then you need to draw your line of symmetry at that point, going up and down. So at x equals 2. And then we need to plot points either left or right of that to find out where the rest of the graph is. So again, my fourth step is always going to be to make a table and plot the points. So I already have my vertex points, so I'm just going to put that in 2, -8. And I'm always going to pick 0. and I tend to stay with the positive numbers, so I'm going to put some random positive numbers in the bracket. Then all I do is plug that into the original equation. So where I see x, I'm going to put in whatever I'm plugging in. So I'm going to say 1/2, open parentheses, I see an x, so I'm going to put in 0, my first point, minus 6, close parentheses, open parentheses, 0 plus 2. Then now I'm going to do it for my second point, which is where I see x, I'm going to put 3. So I see x, I put 3. See another x, I'm going to put 3. But then I'll do it for the other point I have, which is 4. So where I see x, I'm going to put 4. I take my calculator, punch it in just like I see it. And remember, anytime you have a fraction, you always put it in what? Parentheses. So type it just like you see it. Anytime you have a fraction, put in parentheses. This is listening check. Color in the table that has X and Y above the red handwriting. Color in that entire table. And then write in your values. So when X is 0, Y is -6. When X is 3, Y is -7.5. When X is 4, Y is -6. And then what we're going to do is plot those points. So I already have my vertex. And actually I can even put in my roots. So my roots, when it crosses the y-axis, I can put those in -2 and 6. And that's enough points to actually join it, but I'm going to go ahead and plot it since I already did it. Alright, when X is 0, Y is -6. Alright, and since the rest are giving me decimals, I'm not going to plot those points. Instead, what I am going to do is I'm just going to mirror the y-intercept that I just did, which is always my last step. Mirror your points across the line of symmetry. So I counted 2, so then I count 2 on the other side. And once you've done all of this, once you've done these 5 steps, I don't care what question they ask you, you can always answer it. Alright, so in this case, do I have my x-intercepts? I sure do. My x-intercepts are -2 and 6, because those were my roots from the equation. I definitely have my y-intercept. Remember, it was one of the points I picked, which is -6. My axis of symmetry happens at x equals 2. My vertex happens at 2, -8. Is it a minimum or maximum? It's a minimum because it has a bottom. Is it open up or open down? It's open up because it's a U. And then end behavior, what happens as x goes to -infinity? F of x does what? As x goes to +infinity, f of x does what? So as it goes to -infinity, the y is going up indefinitely, so it goes to infinity. As it goes to +infinity, the y is also going up. My domain and range, so my domain is x, so take for my x values, there's a graph existing everywhere. So it's all real numbers. And my range, starting from the bottom, there's no graph there, there's no graph, no graph, no graph, there's a graph there. So it starts at my minimum, which is -8 inclusive, and goes up forever. And remember, you open parentheses when it doesn't include. My rate of change in that interval is a change in y over change in x. You write down the formula. That's x1. Alright, so write down x1, x2, and plug it into the formula. So I have x2, which is 1, minus x1, which is -1. Now I need to find y1 and y2. Okay. Because it's not in my tables, I'm just going to plug it into the calculator using the equation. Where I see x, I'm going to put 1 and -1. So I'll start with y2 since it's first, so I'll plug in 1. So I'll go parentheses because it's a fraction, 1/2. I see a x, so I put 1. I see another x, I put 1. Then I've got -1 as my y1. This is a listening check. Underline average rate of change. So I get 7.5 for y2. Now -1 for my y1. Plug it into the calculator again. So a half. And then I see -1. And then another -1. Where I see x, I'm just plugging -1. So 3.5. -3.5, I'm sorry. Plug that in the calculator. So -7.5 minus -3.5 is -4 over 1 minus -1, which is 2. If that's still in the calculator, you get -2. So my rate of change in that interval is -2. So it doesn't matter what question they ask you, once you've done the 5 steps, you can answer. And that's it. So let's practice.